In our politics lead, a major update on that Senate vote to release the Epstein files. Let's get right to CNN's Manu Raju on Capitol Hill. Manu, we didn't even know if the Senate was going to take up the Epstein files bill. What is playing out right now?
Yeah, just a couple weeks ago, it seemed like this bill was dead on arrival. Just a few days ago, it seemed like it was dead on arrival in the United States Senate. But now it is on its way to the president's desk in a remarkable turnaround, in an extremely fast move here. The Senate has essentially green-lighted this bill to be approved as soon as tonight and be sent to the president's desk. Now, essentially what happened was that in the aftermath of this House vote this afternoon, 427-1, just one member of the entire United States House voting against it. This is now on its way to the Senate. Now, there has not been a formal process. It has to be formally sent over to the United States Senate. That process was to take some time to get through the official writing of getting the bill over across the Capitol. It's an arcane process. But once it gets over to the United States Senate, that's when the bill can be read in the Senate and essentially passed. So what we just saw moments ago was Chuck Schumer, the Senate Democratic leader. He went to the floor of the United States Senate and he said, he asked for what's known in the Senate as unanimous consent. That means that all 100 senators have to agree, or one senator could object and slow things down. He asked unanimous consent that for when the Senate receives the final paperwork of the bill that just passed the United States House, that it would be approved by the United States Senate. Nobody objected to that, Jake. So what that means is that as soon as it is formally transmitted, this bill is formally transmitted from the House to the Senate will essentially have it approved. It will be approved in their chamber. There does not need to be a roll call vote. And then it will go to the president's desk for his signature, in which the president has indicated that he will sign, despite fighting this for months, despite the efforts by the Republican leaders, particularly in the House, to try to deny its vote. Ultimately, the president capitulated, said that he believed that the House Republicans should vote for it because dozens were already planning to buck him. And the Speaker of the House, who did not want this bill to come to the floor, ultimately voted yes, which has been a remarkable turnaround, pushed by a handful of members in the House of Representatives, pushing the leadership, circumventing the leadership, forcing this on the floor, ultimately getting the leadership behind this, and now through the Senate in a blink of an eye, and now on to the president's desk. And within 30 days, when this becomes law, Jake, that's when the Justice Department will have to comply to release the files, the Epstein files. And if it does not comply for whatever reason, it has to explain why. But right now, a remarkable moment as the Senate greenlights passage of this bill that has dogged the House in particular over the last several months.
Meanwhile,
this is about so much more than one person, Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell or Donald Trump. But because Donald Trump is a person who, of course, owns Mar-a-Lago, I just have to ask if you think he was aware of that arrangement.
I don't know if he was aware. Actually, I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
You were in your teens. You were in your teens, yeah. And I think this is important for people to understand that people were in their teens and were young, and you were a young model, mm-hmm. and you were handled by a predator. Let me ask you something else, because again, it's much bigger than a couple of people.
Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. I'm your host, the conservative libertarian here, and we're back with another one, man. Yes, sir. This is video number 2, right? Number 2 video, right? So we got another one for you guys. So we got to talk about all the stuff that's happening with the Epstein's files. There's a lot going on with that whole thing. I got clips that happened in the beginning of the video, if you saw those. I don't know if I'm going to put the Jen Psaki clip in the beginning or not, but yeah, that's another thing too. You got Jen Psaki over here literally interrogating a witness over what she saw in Mar-a-Lago and whether or not she knew that Trump knew of anything that happened. Like this is hilarious. And we're going to get into the View real quick, and we're going to watch how Sunny Hostin has a complete meltdown over the fact that, you know, the Democrats are being flipped on with this whole issue. Like, this whole issue is backfiring on the Democrats because a lot of their names are being implicated into this, not as much as Trump. let's get into this. Let's go.
The DOJ has not proven to follow any of the rules thus far. I do not expect them to elevate themselves now. So.
Okay, well, let's just try this. Both sides of the aisle are hurling accusations about ties with Epstein. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett had to walk back false claims against some Republicans. Even she is involved here. And House Oversight Committee Chairman pointed the finger at Democrats. She is the chairman. Okay, I didn't read that right, but whatever. Take a look.
Democrats have been silent about their colleagues' coordination with Epstein. Another email shows Democrat fundraisers invited Epstein to an event or to meet privately with Hakeem Jeffries.
I have no idea what James Comer is talking about in terms of anything that any prior consultant may have sent. He's a stone cold liar, and James Comer knows it.
Folks who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin.
My team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead people.
Yeah, okay. Did you see the reporter's face? Like, she was just looking at her like, yeah, you're full of shit, buddy. Why'd you bring that onto a Congress floor if it wasn't about Jeffrey Epstein? I was talking about a Jeffrey Epstein. It wasn't the Jeffrey Epstein. Then why bring it to the Congress floor? We're talking about the Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we're talking about. We don't know what you're talking about because, right, we're talking about the Jeffrey Epstein, and you're bringing in a whole different individual who has, unfortunately for that guy, he has the exact same name as the Jeffrey Epstein. That's kind of crazy. I ain't gonna lie. You might have to change your name, buddy. I was thinking about that a while ago. You might want to change your name. This isn't looking good for you, Jasmine. This is why you need to keep your big mouth closed sometimes.
It is also false that Mitt Romney and the NRCC took money. What's the NRCC?
The National Republican Congressional Committee.
Okay.
And she named Lee Zeldin, who also did not take
So it's not true that they took money from Jeffrey Epstein? Yeah. So is this...
There's a different Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, it's a different... It's so confusing.
But Joy,
and annoying.
Goofy.
This is why people get so frustrated.
Look at Sonny. Look at Sonny. Look at Sonny. She's look at her. She's like, yeah, it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. She's like, yeah. I even go try to save her.
It's so confusing
but Joy,
and annoying.
This is why people
she's
get
like,
so frustrated with politicians.
Yeah.
Something horrible was done. We all agree on that. Epstein engaged in horrific crimes.
Yeah.
But people care more about, well, my team didn't do it, your team did.
Yeah.
And
why is this a political issue?
Exactly.
Incredible, Sonny. Why is this so political? It's because you guys talked about it. You guys are the one talking about it, right? They try to give us some stuff, right? I agree they should have gave us more transparency in the beginning instead of giving us, some files and some things we already got again and stuff like that. They should have been more transparent on what they gave us, right? And if they still have more stuff, they should have just let that stuff go too. Like, what was the point of holding any information at all? There's no point, right? Because that case should have been closed. So if it's closed, then the evidence should be open to the public, right? Done on day one, literally. It should have been done. But obviously, Cash Patel and Pam Bondi aren't the sharpest tools in the shed. I think everybody can agree on that. That most of us don't really like Pam Bondi or Cash Patel, especially the conservative movement. I've seen a lot of conservatives say they don't mess with them, but hey, they're there, so we gotta wait until they get out of there. The Democrats made this into a political issue. It wasn't Trump. Trump tried to do what he could, and leave the charge for Pam Bondi to do, and let her do all that stuff and Cash Patel do all that stuff, but they failed. So now they have to go through a whole hearing and a whole thing because Democrats decided to bring this back up again after the shutdown had ended. Right? They brought it back up. I literally talked about this in my MTG video. Like they decided to bring this up all of a sudden so that way they can still have controversy stirring with Trump. They don't want there to be a moment of silence, a moment of brief pause for Trump. They want every single waking day of Trump's administration and the days that he is in office to be complete chaos until the day he leaves. So that way, or even during the midterms, up until the midterms, so that way they can say that, look at all the chaos Trump has caused. Look at all the destruction that he's caused to the economy, into your lives, when it's like you guys have been causing all this. You guys have been doing all this extra stunning and puffing up your chest to bolster yourselves up so that way you can look good in front of the left, so that way you guys can save your jobs and stand up against Trump. Like, this is mostly on the fall of the Democrats, and that's why the Democrats are taking most of the fall for this right now. Is because you guys were pushing this. You guys are pushing this the most. Now you got to deal with the consequences. Now Jasmine Crockett has to eat grass for what she said.
Also, sex abuse of children.
When she said, my team looked into this quickly, when you're going to throw out an accusation that big, which we all know this case is that big, just own it, say it was a mistake, and move on. Because to then try to say, well, they lie and we don't lie, again, it's the distrust in Congress and our politicians.
But the bottom line is, and you've said this before, Sarah, this is not a partisan issue. This is not a political
but I'm speaking
issue.
purely to don't sling an accusation out on the congressional floor and not dial it back quickly, abruptly say, I got it wrong, and move on, because it isn't political. It's criminal.
It's hellish at this point. I don't know why there are two sides to an issue about child sexual abuse.
There isn't.
There aren't.
Because one side is saying that Trump was involved. One side is claiming that the very top of your guys' leadership, right? The very top is in cahoots with sex predators, with child sex predators.
Back with breaking news, the House Oversight Committee has just released new emails from convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Some are focused on President Trump. Jay O'Brien has the details. Good morning, Jay.
Yeah, George, good morning. These are records that the department, or rather the House Oversight Committee, subpoenaed from the Epstein estate. Reams, thousands of pages worth, released this morning by Democrats on that panel, several mentioning President Trump by name.
This morning, the bombshell release of what House Democrats say are emails to and from deceased convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, several referring to President Donald Trump by name. In an April 2011 email released by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, lawmakers say Epstein wrote to his now convicted accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, 3 years after pleading guilty to sex crimes involving a minor, telling her, I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Unnamed victims spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. According to the released emails, Maxwell responds, I have been thinking about that. But this summer, in a recorded interview with the Department of Justice, Maxwell told Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, the president's former lawyer, she never witnessed Trump act inappropriately.
I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
Shortly after that interview, Maxwell was moved to a minimum security prison camp, prompting criticism she received special treatment. Committee Democrats also releasing this January 2019 email, where Epstein corresponds with author Michael Wolff less than 6 months before the financier would be charged again, this time with sex trafficking of minors. Discussing President Trump's repeated claim he kicked Epstein out of his Palm Beach club, Epstein writing, Trump said he asked me to resign, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. President Trump has denied any knowledge of Epstein's alleged crimes.
It's a hoax. It's started by Democrats.
After Epstein's arrest in 2019, Trump said he hadn't spoken with him in 15 years. And earlier this year, Trump claimed the reason he banned his one-time friend from Mar-a-Lago in the mid-2000s was because Epstein stole Trump's club staff, including young women.
He took people, and because he took people, I said, don't do it anymore. You know, they work for me. And he took, beyond that, he took some others. And once he did that, that was the end of him. I didn't like, when they steal people, I don't like it.
That's what your side of the aisle is saying to the other side of the aisle. And the other side of the aisle is they can't just sit back in silence and be like, yeah, there's nothing to say about that. We did nothing. We don't have to talk about any of this. That makes y'all look more. Y'all are even saying that that Trump's silence is making them look guilty. They're literally saying that all over the news. That Trump avoiding questions to not talk about the Epstein files. And it's like, what else is he supposed to say? You know what I'm saying? Like, what else is there to say? You guys have already said what you had to say. He said what he had to say. He's been said that he had nothing to do with him. He kicked him out. That's that. You guys are trying to dig up more information, dig up more dirt, so you guys can have this as leverage. All this is a political tool and a political game for the Democrats. This is political theater. Like, come on, bro. Come on, bro. This is definitely not a two-party issue. It's a one-party issue, and it's the left.
Two sides to it. It's shameful.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a break.
Ha!
We'll be right back.
Damn, they had to take a break after that. Yeah, because that right there, what Jasmine Crockett did right there was so bad, they had to take a break. Oh, shit.
Democrat who's been on defense over Jeffrey Epstein is Stacey Plaskett. She represents the Virgin Islands. She was texting with Jeffrey Epstein the day of Michael Cohen's hearing. Her questions pretty closely followed the text messages between the two of them to ask about Rona Graff, Trump's longtime assistant. You were defending her today, or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney.
I love how she has all the black queens behind her, so that way she can have all the black supporters, the black support. You know what I'm saying? She has that power behind her, you know. I like that. I like that, right?
The NRCC. Lee Zeldin. George Bush. Win Red. McCain Palin. Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor, doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people?
I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead people. Now, have I dug in to find out who this doctor is? I have not.
Wow.
So I will trust and take what he says, is that it wasn't that Jeffrey Epstein, but I was not attempting to mislead anybody. I literally had maybe 20 minutes before I had to do that debate.
Yeah, but people might see that and say, well, you're trying to make it sound like he took money from
I did not know.
A registered sex offender.
You didn't know.
I literally did not know.
You didn't know.
When you search FEC files,
Incredible.
And that's what I had my team to do, I texted them and I said, listen, we're going up. They are saying that she took donations.
Right, but someone might say, well, your team should have done the homework to make sure it wasn't the sex trafficker.
Within 20 minutes, you could not find that out,
Getting
not
cooked.
from just doing a quick
Getting
search
cooked.
on FEC.
Then why bring it up to the Congress floor? You could have made your statements without trying to seem like you're implicating people into, actually taking money from, the Jeffrey Epstein. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is ridiculous. They have proof, right? You know what I'm saying? There's text messages with Stacey Plaskett and Jeffrey Epstein. They have proof about that. If anything, she should be up for a Senate hearing or like a committee hearing over why she was texting a pedophile during a Congress meeting. She has to answer for that. I'm surprised that the Republicans haven't brought her to the floor so she can explain why that is. Interesting, very interesting. And then she's over here claiming that, the other side isn't saying anything that's truthful either. But it's like, well, they're not the ones being brought up onto a news panel to be corrected about their statements. You are, because you said some falsehoods, and you're gonna have to explain why you said what you said. It's just common sense, right? But I'm not gonna make this video too long. I don't want to make it too long. We've already watched what happened right here. I thought they were going to get into more stuff about what Stacey Plaskett did or whatever, but obviously we know what she did, and there should be some consequences for those, but we'll see if that even happens. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below, whether or not this was an L or a W. I would love to hear your guys' feedback on the matter, and let me know what you guys think about this whole situation with Epstein and whether or not, the Democrats are, folding to this whole issue. they're getting more heat than Trump is getting. You know what I'm saying? Like they're getting the most interviews than Trump's getting. People can say that, oh, Trump's avoiding the cameras. He's not really trying to talk about it. And it's like, well, he already said what he had to say. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing much more he can say besides him signing the Epstein's file and pushing it out there and waiting for the documents to come out and see what happens. But until next time, guys, I will catch you in the next one, man. Peace.